It's 1939 and the Russian Revolution is long over. As a side effect of the revolution and the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk, they had lost a bunch of land. They had retaken some of it in 1919, but not everything they had lost had been retaken. Luckily, Germany suffered from the exact same problem. I'm gonna retake those areas once and for all! Hey Hitler, I heard you also suffer from the problem of losing land after the war. Want to divide up Europe or something? Yes. Poland, adjust your borders. Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, adjust your borders. Romania, adjust your borders. Finland. I need to get something out of that. Hey Finland, your borders are pretty close to Leningrad. Wanna adjust your borders? No. How about you lose less land? No. Alright. Time to go to war. The Winter War had begun. The Finns gave a good fight, humiliating the Soviet Union. Finland only suffered 70,000 casualties, whilst the Soviets suffered around 350. But, I mean, how could a puny little Nordic country only suffer a fifth of a superpower? What was the magic technique? Well, it's called Motti tactics. Let's observe a situation. Let's say that some Soviet soldiers are advancing in a forest with snow as far as the eye can see. Their advance is slow, not only due to circumstance but also due to heavy weaponry. The Finns were not slow, they didn't have much heavy weaponry and they also knew how to advance quickly with skis. They could advance quickly and hit the Soviets on weak spots, split the army into smaller pockets and go in for the kill. Less resources, less men, very effective. But despite the effective technique, you kinda have to look at the map. A massive country with a gargantuan army. Finland lost. You lost the war. Adjust your borders. What do you mean? You started it. Look, man, we can't all be winners. Finland now suffered from the problem of losing land, and much like Germany and the Soviet Union, they wanted it back. Wouldn't it solve the Finns' dreams if the biggest invasion in history would distract the Soviets? Well, there you have Operation Barbarossa, a massive invasion of the USSR, the biggest in history. Finland took advantage of this and started war with the Soviets. This war is called the Continuation War. During the Continuation War, both countries were at war with the Soviets. Having a common enemy, they had an alliance, because when there's common enemy, there's common friendship. This friendship didn't have a strong bond, it was just because of the aforementioned common enemy. Germany helped Finland on their front, and vice versa. On top of the average 450,000 Finnish soldiers, tens of thousands of German soldiers also supported Finland, especially in Lapland, partly due to the large amounts of nickel in regions like Petsamo. Remember that. It's important. Finland now had an advantage it didn't have during the Winter War, and that was Germany. And for the duration of this war, Finland's capacity was dependent on Germany's performance. Luckily, the Germans did really well for the time being. Winter came, and Germany was struggling. Finland now had to ensue the same struggle. Winter is here. Hopefully victory is near. This can't the Germans bear. I think the end is near. I need to get a new career. As Germany struggled, so did Finland. After Hitler failed to take Stalingrad, it really looked like this front was a front Germany would fail. And since Finland was dependent on Germany's performance, it looked like they were going to fail as well. Finland could not fight forever, and after the start of 1944, they had asked on a number of occasions for peace. The Soviet Union gave some large demands, which the Finnish government couldn't accept. Thus, the war resumed. Hey Finland, looks like I'm winning. Mind adjusting your borders? No. Alright, let's continue the war. One area Finland had focused heavily on during the continuation war was Karelia. Now that Germany and Finland were failing and that the Finnish government refused an armistice, the Soviet Union had a large offensive in Karelia called the Vyborg-Petrozavodsk offensive. All this pressured Finland into signing an armistice called the Moscow Armistice. You lost the war. You know what that means? I'm gonna adjust my borders. You're gonna adjust your borders. But there's another thing. Pay up a lot of money and break diplomatic ties with Germany. In 2 weeks. What? 2 weeks? That's impossible. Who do you think you are? Didn't I invade you for the same reason you invaded me? Look, man. We can't all be winners. As a consequence of breaking diplomatic ties with Germany, all German soldiers had to be expelled or disarmed. You know, those soldiers that's present in large quantities in Lapland. Any hindering of the expulsion or withdrawal would lead to harsh punishments. Hitler wasn't too surprised and had already started to withdraw. The plan was to withdraw as much as they could, but still trying their best to keep important areas such as Petsamo, which contained a lot of that vital nickel. This is called Operation Birke. Luckily for the Germans, the Finnish soldiers weren't that keen to fight a previous ally. They still had to disarm and expel due to the impossible 2-week demand from the Soviets. They tried it in peace because they sincerely didn't want another war. Operation Birke worked for a while until the Soviet Union got impatient. Hey Finland, how's the disarming of those German troops going? It's doing a-okay. There's still a ton left though. Jesus Christ, you've had 9 days. Follow the armistice or you will face the consequences. Exhausting you until I eventually have to adjust my borders? Yeah, well, I mean... Just follow the damn armistice, you dingus. Okay then. Finland was forced to use force, and Germany was not their ally anymore. The Lapland War had begun. A small engagement happened on September 28th, and the first real battle happened the day after. Now, there were 3 battles during the war. The first was the Battle of Olhava. I feel that the 3 battles have the normal stereotypes of battles in a conflict. The Battle of Olhava was the niche, small and obscure one. Now, what was the goal for the Finns? Well, the goal was to save the river where Olhava is located, the Olhava Joki, as well as the accompanying bridges that would most likely be blown up by the Germans. The Finns caught up to a bridge with the Germans at the north of the river and the Finns at the south. Planning the situation, it was laid out that they would send a large part of the army directly at the Germans, whilst a smaller part would go and cross the river further away, and later take them on from there. The Germans realized what they were up to and started to withdraw from their positions. Obviously, the Germans would not want to have Finns attacking them, so it was clear that this bridge would be blown up. Finns tried to cut the explosives, but it didn't work. The bridge exploded and both sides started to shoot on one another. 7 dead. No wonder why no one knows about this battle. The Germans were now at war with Finland and they had to stay persistent in the goal of keeping that damn Petsamo nickel. Or did they? It was found nickel deposits in Austria. What agenda would they have trying to protect nickel deposits so far away from home? Well, nothing. That's why Operation Nordlicht started, where the goal wasn't anymore to protect nickel. It was to go to Norway and station there instead. 4 days later, the next battle would follow the stereotype of a well-known big one. With the Germans continuing their journey to Norway, the Finns needed a plan for another battle, given Stalin's impatience. The plan was to surprise the Germans at the Swedish border, attack and capture Tornio with 3 ships, while at the same time taking Kemi from Simo, thus surrounding the Germans. An interesting plan, although when was the last time you saw a smooth military execution? The plan went rather differently. An infantry division landed on Reuter and took over Tornio the same day. Using motti tactics, the Germans in the city were divided into smaller pockets and were surrounded. This caused a German surrender. The Kemi advance was slow. There were landmines and exploded bridges all the way, although the Swedes did help a bit by saving an important bridge. A new successful landing in Tornio happened, which had lots of casualties due to bombing attacks from the German Air Force. New gunboats were approaching and later protected from German counterattacks. The city was secured, but the plan didn't work. They were not surrounded, and the Germans managed to keep the railroad to Rovaniemi, and at long last, Norway. General Lothar Brendulic, the commander of the German forces in the north, was pissed off with Finland capturing Tornio, and did not take it nicely. Those bastards! Being pressured by those commies to go to war. This is an absolute betrayal! Man, burn all the useful stuff here in the north. All of it. Scorched earth. Sir, we're in northern Finland. It's basically winter. What is really worth throwing matches over? A random town with a population of 12? You've really lost it, haven't you? Yeah, maybe I have. Hitler is still fighting for a win, even though it's blatantly obvious it's all lost. Anyway, burn all public buildings to shreds. And burn to shreds it did. The next battle is that battle that's known for everything else that's not the combat. With the German evacuation, the Finns had two divisions they could chase the Germans with. The ones close to Kemi and the ones in Ranua. The ones in Kemi was too slow, so the ones in Ranua was definitely the better option. The Germans wanted their very best circumstances for evacuation, and this required their 218th Mountain Regiment to delay the Finns, with, of course, the scorched earth policy. They did clash in both Ylima and Kivitaipale, but this didn't really stop the Finns, just slow them down. When the Finns finally reached Rovaniemi, the Germans went really hard in their scorched earth. Rendulic had now changed the order from all public buildings to all buildings, except hospitals. This caused them to go so hard that 90% of buildings in Rovaniemi got burnt down. That's right, the capital of Lapland and trade center in the region, 90%. This wasn't the fate of just Rovaniemi, it was the fate of a few other towns in Lapland, and the Germans did the same thing all the way up to Norway. The destruction of Rovaniemi stopped on October 16th, and for the following 15 days of October, the Germans went closer and closer to Norway to fulfill Operation Nordlicht. By November, the Germans had almost fully retreated. By this point, the Finns had proven to the Soviets that they would follow the terms of their armistice, and started helping. The first city in Norway to be liberated by the Soviets was Kirkenes. Kirkenes was strategic during the Continuation War due to its position, and the Soviets bombed it no less than 300 times. The Germans did not discriminate with scorched earth, and they burnt down the rest of the city. You know, whatever that was. The advance stopped completely when Germany had fully fulfilled Operation Nordlicht, mostly because the Soviets stopped bothering. They had secured what they needed. Was it worth celebrating? Not really. This was just one front of the many that Germany had to go through. During World War I, they were really concerned over a two-front war. Here it was the front in Norway, Western Front, Eastern Front and Southern Front. Nazi Germany was collapsing from 4 sides. The Lapland War officially ended on April 27. Hitler committed suicide 3 days later, and Germany surrendered a week after that. The Lapland War alone, which to be real was just a small section of World War II, had almost half of Lapland's property destroyed. World War II for Finland has been somewhat confusing, since sides were changed a lot. From an Ally supporter to an Axis supporter, back to being an Ally supporter. It's weird how things turned out, and it's honestly kinda surprising that they managed to avoid capture at all. The same can't be said for other European states. They were not as lucky, not just during the war, but kinda after as well. Hungary, adjust your borders. Romania, adjust your borders. Germany, adjust your borders. And become my puppets. Thanks for watching.